Hello all, dear esteemed scholars, dear colleagues, and dear participants. Once again, welcome to the International Current Issues in Interior Symposium, Track 3, which is titled Environmental Systems and Technology. We are delighted to welcome you all again. We are privileged to have distinguished speakers from around the globe, among whom is Professor Jian Kang. I hope that I'm spelling your name correctly. Our esteemed keynote speaker for track 3. I would like to give brief information about him. Jian Kang has been a full professor since 2003, and currently he is a professor of acoustics and soundscape at University College London. He is president of the International Institute of Acoustics and Vibration, and also he chairs the European Acoustics Association Technical Committee for Noise and the EU Coast Action on Soundscape of European Cities and Landscapes. He has worked in architectural and environmental acoustics for 40 years with more than 8 research projects and more than 800 publications and more than 20 patents. Dr. Jian Kang is a pioneering figure in the field of architectural acoustics, renowned for his groundbreaking research, profound contributions to acoustics and soundscape. Now, I would like to give the word to Professor Jian Kang to give his speech titled Interior Soundscaping from Healthcare to Various Building Types. Thank you, and the word is yours, Kang.
Thank you very much, Senap, for your nice introduction. And it's my great pleasure to be invited to give a talk on this soundscaping theme. And so before I talk about indoor soundscaping, maybe I'll give a brief introduction about why sound is important, why we need to consider sound. And the first fact is there are 80 million EU citizens suffer from unacceptable environmental noise level, according to the standard from WHO. And the social cost of transport noise itself is about 0.2 to 2% of GDP. This includes noise reduction treatment like noise barrier and also social cost, including healthcare. And what is problem of noise? Noise effect include hearing impairment, as we can immediately think about, and also speech interference. Study shows in noisy schools, pupils' achievement is less good as in quiet schools. That's evidence in London. And also, of course, noise disturb our sleep and also have some physical health effect and also performance reduction. And noise could also have economical impact. For example, in Europe, study shows every decibel increase will decrease property value by 0.6%. Sometimes 10 dB noise reduction or increase is quite easy to happen. And also social effect. This study shows someone have a pile of book and pretending the book fall down on the street and to see who will help her to pick up. And she did this in noisy condition and a quiet condition, and it found in quiet condition, people turn to help other people more. So you can see sound environment is very important for us from all aspects of our life. So today I'd like to talk about soundscape or sound environment, firstly in healthcare facilities, as kind of more detailed studies we have done. And then I'll briefly talk about other building types and just briefly introduce how we consider or how should we consider sound environment, including shopping mall, library, football, stadium, and swimming, and the churches, different building types. And I'm aware the audience here are not acousticians, so I'll rather than go deep into detailed results, I'll go through quickly as overall picture. So first part is healthcare facilities. What are the problems and how can we deal with it? First question we studied was how noisy are hospitals? And for that, we systematically studied the noise level or sound level of medical equipment because in hospitals, the noise are mainly from medical equipment. That's one of the major noise sources. And we systematically measured different medical equipment and see how disturbing or how noisy they are in terms of sound level. So those are the spectrums of some typical medical equipment. For those who are less familiar with sound measurement, so spectrum this is frequency, because every sound has different frequency. So we have frequency here, and that's sound level, and that's equipment, the spectrum of one equipment monitor. And you can see for that kind of sound, there are some frequencies that are very distinguishably loud. So this is quite disturbing because, as you know, for white noise, it's something smooth at different frequencies. But for those with very distinguishable frequencies, it could be very annoying. In addition to the high level, not just the frequency feature, but high level, about 70 dB, which is very high, like maybe half meter, someone speak to you very loudly is about 70 dB. And also different equipment have different frequency characteristics, and some have a smooth change, some have distinguished one, and some have more peaks. So all those are the sounds a patient will suffer from, and quite often is about 65, 70 dB. And all those equipment are increasing in hospitals with development of technology, and in turn, this creates more noise problems. This is overall sound level in an ICU, and with all equipment all together, you can see it's quite high, again, over 70 across several frequency bands. And this is another measure of sound characteristics with time. This is frequency domain, this is time domain. If the sound is more stable, it's sometimes less annoying. But if the sound is like this, quite peaky, it's quiet and suddenly come to loud sound, this is even more annoying. So that's about equipment itself. How about long periods of sound level in ICU, a typical hospital place? Firstly, I'd like to indicate that WHO recommends that noise level inside hospital ward should not exceed 30 dB LAEQ and 40 dB Lmax. LAEQ is equivalent kind of sound level average across time, but LA max is maximum if you consider time period during night time. This is a recommendation. Let's remember that and see how loud the actual noise is. So we measured a typical ICU unit in UK, and including single bed ward and a 4-bedroom multi-ward. So this is the measured sound level. This is changed with time. You can see I mentioned 30 dB is the standard. And this is actual level. It's about 50 dB or even 60 dB. And when sound level is 10 dB higher, people feel it's doubly loud. if it's 20 dB higher, which is the case here, people feel it's 4 times louder. So compared to the WHO standard, a very typical normal hospital ward ICU is at least 4 times louder than what it should be. And that's another measurement. And this is kind of overall level. And you can see again, this is 50, 60 dB. This is not only the case in the UK, but also in many other countries. I'll show you some other example later. So that's hospital ward. How about the waiting areas? Hospital ward is more for patients, but waiting areas for patient and also family members. And this is a measurement we did in China, kind of typical crowded hospital waiting area. And this is a plan, and hope that's relevant to the topic today, interior design. And this is measured on-site measured sound level. That's frequency, that's sound level. Again, this is much higher than 30 dB. It's about 50 or 60 dB at a different point. This is another measurement. And this is change with time. This is for different frequencies. That's dBA, overall level, adding all the frequency together. You can see the level is about 70 dB, much, much higher than 30, 40 dB as required. And so from this spectrum, we can see it's not very high at low frequency, not very high at high frequency, but the peak is middle frequency, 500 to 1000 hertz. This is mainly from people's sound, talking, shouting. Normally, for male voice, it's about 500 hertz peak, and the female voice is about 1000 hertz. So you can see it's mainly people's sound. So here, how we design for people to distribute more reasonably and also create less noise is quite a good task or challenge. And we also studied behavior of noise sources. Noise sources including machine, like equipment of medical site, and also traffic. So those are difficult to change. But noise sources also include, for example, nurses wash their hand. For example, that's also noise source. So it's useful to study what's the behavior of this kind of noise sources. And we kind of observed different and open and closed doors. That's also kind of noise source. And sometimes the behaviors is important. How often you open the door, which way you open the door. So we observed all those noise sources behavior very systematically, talking, ventilation, and including compared with other medical equipment noise sources. The reason for studying this noise behavior is not only understand it, but also develop some kind of agent-based models. So before a hospital is built, if we know our design, we know, for example, nurse station, how many washing basins there. So we know how loud washing hand sound is. We can predict in hospital how noise will be distributed if we know how often nurses will wash their hands, where, and then we can predict the whole sound field. So we can know what's this the overall noise situation. So this is called agent-based model. I don't know whether some colleagues have used this. Agent means, for example, nurse or other kind of noise sources. If we simulate every agent, we can work out what's the noise distribution in a hospital. So this is about sound level itself. Another quite important indicator is about reverberation time. For example, the conference room you are in now, the reverberation time should be about, I think, 1 second or 1.1 seconds. If it's very long, like church, you can't hear speech. If it's very short, the sound level is too low and you don't have enough. It's very clear, but you don't have enough power, so you can't hear it. So that's for functional speech. But in the same time, people's annoyance level also depending on the reverberation. If it's too reverberant, same noise level people will feel is more annoying. So we selected the typical ward and see how the furniture's every kind of element are affecting reverberation time. So we studied empty room and then put in a small chair and see how reverberation time will change without a small chair, and then we put big chair, coffee table, office table, and bed, and work out which furniture is affecting RT in what way, which level. So that's very useful for design award. And we also use computer simulation, room acoustic computer simulation software to work out those. And then in the future, we can design what we like and whenever we like to achieve a desirable reverberation time. So now we studied how noisy each sources is and reverberation, but what is noise effect in hospitals? How would this affect people? What's people's feeling about it? So we did a series of studies. This is one study we did in China, sound evaluation in waiting areas. Sorry, this is Chinese because that's done in China, but I'll show you what it is. This is very much unlike. This is very much like sound, and this is patients. This is doctors, and those are for different sounds. And this is for speech. Do people like speech? This is like, very much like, very much unlike. So you can see for speech, people mainly don't like it, especially doctors don't like surrounding speeches. This is for steps, walking steps. You can see that's normal. People kind of don't hate it much. And this is for general crowd noise. So firstly, we can see there are differences between nurses or workers and the patients, quite a lot of difference. So this gives us kind of indication when we design this, we need to think about two group people and design for them differently for different areas. Secondly, with the same sound level, people's evaluation is quite different. And this is what kind of sound they can hear. You can see nurses, doctors and patients hear same sound, but the evaluation of annoyance is quite different. This is comparison between sound environment and light environment, humidity, temperature, smell, and overall. So again, this is very much comfortable. This is very uncomfortable. You can see people's evaluation about lighting, humidity, smell are kind of medium to good, but for sound is medium. So so sound is kind of one of the worst situation, so people pay more attention to. And the effect of noise on sleep, especially in ICU, is a very important aspect. This is to study sleep, you need a lot of long-term observation. So for that one, we did a systematic review about previous studies. and found firstly noise has very serious effect on patient sleep for ICU. And also we reviewed other people's work and found people use different kind of treatment like ear plug and other behavior modification, for example, to reduce noise level. And this shows what kind of treatment can give you what kind of effect. So overall, they are helpful, but not very dramatic. Several dB noise reduction by this kind of behavior. So the effect of noise has two kind of levels. One is psychological. I feel annoyed. I don't like it. But also there could be physiological effect. This is more physical. So we also studied what is effect of physiological effect compared to psychological effect. For that, we have kind of VR created ward and have different sound to ask participants to evaluate. And in same time to measure people's physiological index. For example, this is heart rate, and we play different sound, ambient sound, mechanical sound, artificial sound, music. So the psychological effect is different. People like or hate certain sound, but in terms of heart rate, it seems there's no significant difference when you play different sound with same level. But for skin conductivity, which is more related to emotion, there are differences, for example, between mechanical sound and the music, and also between artificial sound and the music. Physiologically, there are differences in that index, skin conductivity. And for self-reported anxiety, this is kind of health indicator, but more psychological. So there are a lot of differences you can see between ambient music and ambient and artificial sound. And for perceived responsiveness, again, there are differences. So you can see the relation between physiological side and the psychological side. So now we observed the importance of how loud and how it affected people. But as designers, we need to think about what can we do about it? How can we reduce noise? So we did several studies about intervention. One work we did was silent ward. So basically, that's the case study site. We put some sound absorbers in the hospital ward. You know, reverberation time is affected by furniture and also absorbers. So we put absorbers to reduce reverberation time. So try to reduce people's noise. But in the same time, if you put absorbers, the sound level will be decreased. And also we try to increase sound insulation, for example, door seals. So overall, the silent ward, because the silent is not actually silent, it's a quieter ward. Compared to normal ward, you have about 2 to 5 dB differences in different index. LEQ is average, L10 is top ones, L90 is background. So see, with this kind of easy and cheap treatment, what could happen? This is difference in terms of sound level, which I showed in previous slides, between normal and silent ward. Silent ward is lower than normal ward at different time. So there are two aspects of sound level. One is if we So previous one is if we have a standard source, the actual sound source, sound level will be reduced. You absorb certain amount of sound. Another aspect is if we have a less reverberant room and less noise, then people's behavior will change. People feel, oh, that's quiet word, therefore I talk less louder. So this is measurement of both. So this is real measurement. So this reflects, firstly, actual noise level reduction physically, and secondly, due to this change of people's behavior. So that's additional sum of the two aspects. That's why this one is different from the previous one. So now this is the key results. So between normal and silent word, we ask people to evaluate what do you think about conversation quality? What about sleep quality? What about your emotion and recovery? You can see there's significant clear difference between silent word and normal word. So there's systematic improvement by reducing several dB. And this is quite easy and quick treatment, and it can reduce sound level, and this in turn can reduce the noise and other negative impact of noise. So that's one aspect of treatment. Another treatment is behavior change, because one aspect is we put absorber to actually reduce sound level, but another one is we introduce equipment. So people have this wearable equipment. So when sound level is high, this can remind people, give them an indication that now is noisy. So this can remind people to keep quieter and to change their behavior. This is similar to in some hospitals, people put a kind of meter of sound level. When it's high, when many people talking, when it's high, it gives some kind of warning light. It's similar kind of principle. Then people will pay attention and speak less and less loudly. So that's the same principle, but that's more variable equipment we put. And with this, we observed a long-term change and found this kind of equipment or treatment is very effective in terms of changing people's behavior, then in turn change the noise level. So this kind of systematic study in hospitals covers starting from measure sound level until do something about it to improve it. And also we studied systematically in care homes. Care homes is different from hospital because those people are older, but they are not ill. So again, we studied from sound environment. I'll give you a quick review about this. We studied from sound environment and measured the sound level and the reverberation time in those places. This includes some smaller rooms for them to have activity and sleep, and also big halls for people to gather. This is kind of typical care homes in China. And we measured different kind of sound types and also relate this to different aspects, for example, loudness and intelligibility of sound and the preference degrees, and see what's the relation. Overall, with increased sound level, people feel it's louder and less preferred. That's kind of general tendency, but the different sounds have different trend. And another aspect is acoustic demanding, because different from hospitals, care homes, people need to have life activity. So we kind of try to find out what are the kind of sounds people want to have. So we surveyed different kind of rooms and different kind of care facilities and ask people their preference about different sound. This one, whether you need to move that away. This one is about what kind of sound do you want to add in a place or activity. If you play table tennis, if you play chess, if you play card games, and if you have music-related activity, chatting, sitting, what kind of sound do you want to add? And you can see, yeah, this is no sound to add, no need to add any sound. The bird sound, for example, in some activities, people like to have bird sound added in. This one is, what kind of sound do you want to reduce? Again, same activity as above, and different sound. You can see people talking, red ones. Most people think this should be reduced, but not always. For example, music-related people don't mind kind of certain kind of people talking and sitting, and very small percentage of people think you should reduce people's talking. So this gives us kind of indication about in what place, what activity we need to design what kind of sound. So again, similar to hospitals, we need to study what kind of effect the sound could have. And this is, again, because it's studied in China, this is China. So piano, running, flowing water, bird, Chinese song, and just quiet, no background sound. And this is about people's emotion. You can see all these sounds have positive effect on people's emotion. This pleasant, this is arousal, annoyance, this is quiet. So you can see for in terms of quietness, some sound, even nice sound, have negative effect. But for other activity or other aspect, sound has positive effect. And this is comparison between different age group, 60 to 69 and until 90. You can see between different age groups, there are considerable big differences. This is a comparison between female and male. You can see the difference is much less compared to age group difference. So that's something we also need to consider. That's measurement of another place. And here we studied what's the difference in terms of overall evaluation without music, and in terms of different dimensions, pleasant, arousal, and dominance. You can see the significant difference between different aspects. I wouldn't go into too much detail on this one. And in care homes or hospitals, not only sound is important, but also we need to consider all other aspects. So we selected one type of care facility and the hospital, and then studied the evaluation of temperature, air freshness, and humidity, lighting, and see what's the current evaluation. So sound is one of the important aspects, and is in the medium kind of range of evaluation. So I hope the first part about healthcare facility, including hospital and the care homes, give you some kind of systematic information about what should we consider, what are the situation, what are the possible treatment. The second part would be other building types. I'd like to just go through quickly about what other issues could be in other building types in terms of indoor soundscaping consideration, including objective measure of sound and also subjective kind of evaluation. So one type is shopping mall. We did a systematic case study in Meadowhall in Sheffield, UK. This used to be largest shopping mall in Europe. It was converted by an old industrial building because Sheffield was called once Europe's capital of steel. It's a heavy steel industry site. And in 80s, some industry building were converted into other kind of building. This was converted to a shopping center, a very big one. So we did systematic questionnaire survey in different places in this big shopping mall, try to find what is people's feeling, how should we design it. And this one slide short. So the finding was we found, I think that's the sound level, yeah. So the sound level is quite high at different places. You can see could be 70 or even 80 dB. 80 dB is very loud. It's something like you stand on roadside, a track pass by, and this is spectrum again could be quite high because so many people. And overall, with increased sound level, people's mean acoustic comfort rating will decrease. But there are very big variations depending on what kind of sound, what kind of people. It's not quite narrow linear one. But overall, is with increased noise level, people feel noise, which is very much expected. But the more interesting result is so yeah, firstly, no significant correlation between different age groups and no significant correlation between sound condition and interviewer's home and the acoustic environment. So at the beginning, we thought people from noisy homes will be more tolerable, but actually it's not the case. This is the most important, interesting result. So when people first arrive at the shopping mall, they feel very much uncomfortable because outside is quiet and open, but once you get inside, it's quite crowded, noisy, reverberant. But after a short period, they may get used to it. So after about 10, 20 minutes, they feel, okay, that's okay. The way we find this is in questioning, we ask people, how long have you been here? So we survey different people. Some people just arrive, some people stayed for a certain time, so we can compare this different period. So after a longer period, that's most interesting, they may feel uncomfortable again as they become tired with noisiness and annoyance. So this gives us quite important hint about how to design a place acoustically. So when you design somewhere near the entrance, maybe we should design something full of absorber, make it quiet. And in the middle, we can save some materials to allow it to be relatively loud. But after about half an hour walking distance, shopping distance, I think depending on different places, but about half an hour, we need to design place which allow people to have a rest. Otherwise, people become very, very annoyed. So this gives us kind of indication about how we design acoustic sequence according to people's feeling. If we design quiet entrance and then every half an hour shopping distance, we design a hall or something quiet place for people to rest. unconsciously or consciously, then the overall shopping experience would be very good. So that's a shopping mall. And this is another example. We did a library reading room, which is very common in universities, for example. This is case study we did in a typical university library reading room. So firstly, again, we measure the sound level and also reverberation time. And it seems sound attenuation according to its different receiver location is fine. And the RT is very low, which means people will not feel any long reverberation effect. It's only 0.2 to 0.4 seconds because there are many books absorbing sound. So according to these results, if we only design it according to acoustic parameter, this should be a very perfect place for people to study. But let's see what people feel about it. So the results, we did the survey results and found half people feel it's very good, very quiet, but other people feel it's very loud. Actually, according to what I just showed you, it's not loud, but because it's very quiet, very non-reverberant. So any sounds generated by people, like drop a pen or phone or something, will make people very annoying because it's quiet place and kind of deadly place, not reverberant place. So what should we do? Half people feel fine, half people feel bad, and especially half people feel quiet, half people feel too noisy. So it seems no solution because people don't agree. So what we did was we put 4 loudspeakers around 4 corners of the room and increase the sound level. So we recorded raining and wind sound, and also raining sound and water sound from stream, and also ventilation sound to increase sound level to about 50 dB. And then we play this sound about 30 minutes, and people freely stay in the room, and then we ask people again. And interestingly, with increased sound level, people feel much better. People agree more about the quality of environment. So this shows actually it's not the lower, the quieter, the better. You need to have designed sound environment because we mask certain sounds. So people who feel quiet, it's still not very loud. So therefore they feel still okay. People who feel too loud because the background sound mask some phoning or footstep sound. So they feel also much better. And so in terms of comparison between different sounds, they are all effective, but among different sounds, running water is the best, and the ventilation is the worst sound. Although we ask people what kind of sound do you recognize, they can't recognize, but naturally, unconsciously, they give running water sounds as the best score and the ventilation as the worst score. This is maybe because our human being are associated more with natural sound like water, but hate artificial sound naturally, unconsciously. So that's library reading room. Another building type we studied was football stadium. So we surveyed a range of football stadium, kind of medium one in UK, and found the average sound level was about 77 to 98 dB, 98 dB, very, very high. it's like you are very close to a track or tram. So this will kind of, if you listen to this for a long time, you'll damage your ear. So maximum level will be 100, over 100 dB, even 120 dB, which is very, very loud. But interesting thing for this building type is most of the fans do think that atmosphere is very, if not totally, depending on the sound volume. So for this kind of place, the challenge is how you make the volume higher, how you make it noisy, because that's football stadium. So rather than reduce noise, we need to design something to make people's shouting content or even amplified. So create this kind of atmosphere. Of course, PA system is still important. If there's fire, people need to get out quickly and correctly. But this is not contributing to good atmosphere. So there's a good challenge or balance. We need to get a good PA system working to protect people's life, but in the same time, really to increase or contain the sound level. This time, maybe not noise level, but sound level of the crowd shouting to create good atmosphere. So yeah, fans want to hear sound from the pitch better than they could. So anywhere they want to hear even more out, so you can see they're demanding. And so in terms of design strategy, we need to think about how to design shape and also certain element to contain the sound. Another type is swimming spaces. Swimming spaces are quite special because water and the surfaces are quite hard. Reverberation time is very, very high, about 10 seconds quite often. So in this kind of place, we want to know what is the people's feeling. Do they feel comfortable or not comfortable? And sound level is also quite high. You can see this now with time. It's about 60, 70 or even higher, like 80 dB, continuously reverberant sound. And this is evaluation of acoustic comfort at different RT and different sound level. You can see the comfort level is not much related to sound level, roughly, but not linearly. So in terms of acoustic comfort, people prefer long reverberation is fine, but not high sound pressure level. So they are kind of into certain kind of contributary requirements. And in terms of people's feeling, 50% of people believe acoustics is very important or important issue in swimming spaces. And 75% of people indicate the major noise source is children's shouting. So it's good maybe if we design swimming spaces in the future, we should divide maybe adult children, if possible, pool acoustically. And that's quite important, interesting. About 32% of people feel acoustically uncomfortable after swimming, and another 33% of sometimes have that feeling. So we need to think about how to, because people go to swim to improve their health, but if they feel uncomfortable at the end, this will affect the effect of the swimming or sport. So the final type we studied was churches. This kind of spaces, there are two kind of aspects. One is it's got function. You need to hear what a priest is talking about. Or if church is used for other purposes like wedding, a funeral, you need to hear what's the speech intelligibility. And another aspect is about atmosphere. People go there not to like want to hear the speech, but also feel um, the atmosphere with other people. So those two requirements we want to find out, are they related, are they in agreement, or are they contradictory? So don't have more detailed results. So we found between these two functions, actually, people pay more attention to atmosphere. Many people think they want have, you see, RT value of 1.8 to 3 seconds at medium frequency corresponding to good or satisfactory level. Normally, that's not the case. 3.3 seconds is very long. And a music hall, concert hall is 2 seconds. So that's already long enough. But in churches, people are much more tolerable about reverberant time. Although this actually, when I at the beginning mentioned in conference room, RT should be about 1 second. Otherwise, you can't hear speech clearly. But now RT is even 2 to 3 seconds. People still feel happy, good, or satisfactory. That means people pay more attention to the atmosphere rather than the actual speech intelligibility. So this gives us kind of indication about how to balance this. Of course, people do need to hear speech clearly, so maybe we should use strong directional speaker to guarantee there's good speech, but also keeps the reverberant time in a church. So based on this kind of systematic introduction about our work on healthcare facilities, also other building types quickly, I hope I demonstrate the point that acoustics is important in healthcare and many other non-acoustical buildings. I didn't talk about concert hall or theater or opera house because that's acoustic building. We to consider the acoustic function as the main requirement, but the non-acoustic building like shopping mall and swimming spaces, I hope I demonstrate that in those non-acoustic buildings, acoustic is still quite important, physically and also psychologically. And interior soundscape, including acoustic atmosphere and acoustic comfort, may vary considerably with same objective acoustic indices such as sound level and reverberant time. So that means if you only design a place according to acoustic physical aspect, you might have quite different final results in terms of people's evaluation. So current guidance technical regulations are insufficient in terms of acoustic design because they are mainly about sound physical aspect. So the relation based on the survey between subjective objective indices would be very useful for developing future design guidance. So we need to consider people's feeling and evaluation into the design rather than just treat acoustic or sound environment as a purely physical aspect. So with that, I'd like to thank you for the invitation by the conference and also thank my research team members, many research assistants, students, also collaborators, and also funding bodies. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Professor Jian Kang, for this informative presentation. It was very honored to listen you. Now I would like to give the word to our audiences. First, I want to ask, do you have any questions to our keynote speaker? Or maybe I can just lead the way and maybe I can start with a question of mine. I would like to ask you, like, you know, in the recent years in hospital, when we say hospital design, there's a trend which is very popular, maybe last 10 years, the biophilic design interventions. I'm just curious, like how those biophilic design interventions can affect the psychological well-being of the users. I mean, in the case of materials, the finishing materials and the atmosphere design. I don't know, have you ever had a chance to maybe test it or to measure it? Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, although today I presented acoustic side of those interventions, but also we studied some kind of multi-sensory uh, aspect of certain treatment. For example, audio-video interaction and sound smell interaction and the sound thermal interaction. And sometimes, for example, if you change the interior design without any change in acoustics, people's evaluation of acoustic environment could also change because there's interaction between sound and other aspects. Um, to give you example of landscape, if you are on the roadside, you can't change noise level, but you plant some beautiful trees, then people feel much nicer in terms of noise level could reduce or vice versa. So we need to consider this audio video interaction and the sound smell interaction, everything.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Yes, we do have one. Just a moment.
Hello, thank you for your very, very informative talk. A great deal of detail. I sort of have a sort of an anecdote and then a question. There was recently, I'm from the UK and a lot of your study is in the UK, and recently there was a case of somebody who escaped from prison. And when he was asked why he escaped, he said it was because he couldn't stand the noise anymore. And he just needed some peace and quiet. And he said it's one of the things was it's not the chatter of the people, it's the very low beat of the music, the doof, 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 which is almost a sort of vibration rather than a noise. It gets to that. And I know in my office, sometimes the person in the office next door, when he puts music on, I don't hear any of the high tones. I only hear the low tones. And it does, when it's loud, it does make the floor vibrate slightly as well, which makes it incredibly difficult. So it's like you become tolerant of some noises and intolerant of others. Because of the effect that they have on you. And it is maybe also something to do with getting older. I looked at you had that sort of that thing about people, the age thing, and where as somebody slightly older, you don't hear the high notes anymore. You just, the low notes become quite oppressive at times. So I did wonder whether, well, you sort of comment on that, but also, did you go into prisons as well? I mean, Mark Pimlott describes them as public buildings. He doesn't describe them as closed buildings. He regards them with, you know, his book about the public interior. He has them in that category. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting example. I didn't know this example, but that's really a good kind of example. Maybe in the future we should pay attention to the kind of more building types. But the effect of this low frequency sound is certainly kind of something people have paid attention to. There are two aspects. One is low frequency sound does have more impact on people, as you also mentioned. It's not only about ear but also body. So for that, there's big debate or complaint about wind turbine noise, which is even lower than the low frequency beat from music. So some people really can't tolerate it, and a lot of complaints. but some people are more tolerant. So that's one aspect. Low frequency itself has impact. Another aspect is about the balance between low frequency and high frequency sound. Because if you listen to music, you will expect it has high frequency, low frequency. But if you are next to someone and the wall or any other kind of sounds barrier or other kind of media will attenuate high frequency easily and low frequency less easily. So after certain kind of sound propagation, low frequency is still there, but the high frequency disappeared. So you expect the balanced high frequency and low frequency, but actually what you hear is low frequency. So naturally people feel quite annoyed. So we had an example, someone designed a roadside noise barrier and it reduced noise level, but actually changed the balance between high frequency noise and high frequency and low frequency. So you spend money and reduce noise, but actually people feel more annoyed. So it's even worse than to don't do anything. So I think indeed this low frequency, high frequency balance is very important when we design interior. So I hope I answer your question about low frequency. Firstly, low frequency itself, but also secondly, balance between high and low frequencies. Indeed, are very important. We should consider those in design and study more.
Okay, thank you. Maybe any other question do we have? Okay. So if there are no questions, my colleagues and the students in the chat, do we have any, Hocam? Okay, no. Okay. So I think I would like to thank Jian, Kang, and can we show the certificates? We would like to thank you for your participation, and we would like to send you the certificate of participation online via your email. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wish we were here face to face and give it to you by myself, but thank you so much. And also, we are going to plant a sapling for you in Yaşar University forest. And here is the certificate of your sapling for your valuable contribution to our symposium. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.